We're about to share with you a really fun episode. It's for a brand called Olipop, and Lorenzo, in his concept, in his section, talks about how you can use the before and after kind of feature in a super powerful way. Very interesting, very different take on this approach. And actually, I think both his ideas are really good. I would stick around and watch both of those ideas. And I'm going to talk about how to talk to people that have never tasted, never bought your product before. So stick around and we hope you enjoy yourself. Hey guys, so we are going to discuss yet another super popular direct to consumer brand. I don't know what their revenue numbers are, but you can be sure that they are doing really well and they're like a rocket ship. It's a beverage brand called Olipop. And it's a totally different business model than some of the other episodes we've done previously, which means that we can approach this puzzle with a fresh set of eyes. And again, just to clarify upfront, we are not suggesting these guys have a very sophisticated marketing team. We're not suggesting that, hey, you missed these details. We're simply saying that one of the benefits of being an outsider is you can look at it from a fresh perspective. And here are some ideas that they should potentially consider. So it's the purpose of the show is to just make things that are great slightly better. So that's what we're going to talk about. And Lorenzo and I have not seen each other's ideas, which means that we'll both be surprised when the ideas are revealed.
Hopefully.
We might even have our ping pong session as well. Also, we'll limit this show to a 30-minute episode. So we'll talk about just a few ideas. And again, just keep in mind, just because we're talking about a few ideas, we're not saying those are the only ideas one could have had. We're also not saying those are the two best ideas that one could have had. What we do is we have a practice session where we say we're going to give ourselves a limited amount of time, and we want to essentially see what kind of insights we can come up with. And we want to share those insights with you. And hopefully you'll be able to draw connections between those insights and the work that you're doing and get value from it. So that being said, Lorenzo, I'm going to get started and share my screen. Yep. Awesome. So let's look at the layout of their mobile product page. It's a pretty standard, format. There's an image over here. There's the name. They've got some reviews. They say it's a 12 pack. And really the key thing over here is that they have all these different flavors. And I actually like the fact that the color of the page changes as you select different flavors. I think it's a nice branded experience. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I didn't even notice it.
There's actually something that I didn't notice that actually was the basis of one of my concepts. So we'll get to that. But what's interesting also is that they have these multi-packs. And it's in some ways, it's a little confusing because they have just these images and you obviously can't make sense of the images, but the basic idea is pretty interesting. So their thinking is that, look, you can buy a 12 pack of grape, but you can also get a multi-pack. And I think their categorization of those multi-packs are pretty good. They have a bestseller pack, which is something that will attractive to certain types of buyers. They also have the sampler pack. So this is a different combination of flavors, but it's showing more variety. They also have the old school classics. So these are just 2 flavors. And so I guess they'll give 6 of each. They have the fruity variety. So they've got a bunch of permutations and combinations that they've created. And I think this helps for someone who's coming to this page and saying, I don't know if I want 12 oranges or 12 grapes. And I think this gives them a simple mechanism to kind of select from a pre-assorted list. And then below that, they have one-time purchase and they have the subscribe interface. I think it's pretty clever that they allow you to select the frequency. I think Lorenzo has spoken about that as being an important criteria for subscription. They make it very clear you can cancel anytime, and then free shipping to around the US. This is also a nice little feature where they've looked up my geolocation, my zip code. I think this might be through Shopify, and identified that they don't offer delivery in my area. So again, we're not talking about ideas to improve this page. I just want to give you a structure of the layout.
One thing, Rishi, you're in the multi-pack page at the moment.
That's true.
Yeah, if you can.
This is what we should look at. You're right. Yep. And so, and now they have a description about the page we'll be talking about is a strawberry vanilla page. And this is the description that they have for it. They have these nutritional facts. This is actually it's not a graphic. So they've actually constructed this in CSS, which is actually a really good call, because it means that whether the page becomes big or small, it'll always be sharp. And people really care about these nutrition facts. So I think this totally makes sense. And then over here, they have a personalized lifestyle image for the strawberry vanilla, which I think also is a very good call. And then below that, they have reviews. So did I cover everything?
Yeah, let's do it.
So what I've done here is that the way I kind of think about this is that there are two types of people that are coming to this page. I've never tasted Olipop, okay? And I assume maybe Lorenzo hasn't tasted it either. The thinking process for someone who is looking to buy a flavored beverage that they've never tasted is very different than if I had gone to my friend's house and had tasted Olipop there and I said, this flavor is amazing. And so those are two completely different channels, two different purchase paths. So my idea was that I want to create some kind of a call to action that gets the attention of someone who is here but has never tasted Olipop. And so I strategically picked this location. So there are a couple of things I've done. One is obviously I'm framing it as a question. It's a trick that I use all the time. But also there's a little kind of hand graphic, which is right there. Again, I'm breaking a design pattern. It's not a good design. And by the way, I should clarify, please don't think that the brand would ever use my design. They would obviously design it on brand. But for the purpose of the show, because we have low budgets, we are just putting something together so we can demonstrate our point.
I'm going to add something. If you guys are looking for a designer, do not hire Rishi. Rishi is not a designer, please.
If you're looking for a designer who's going to help you reduce sales, then maybe you can talk to me. So but the thing to keep in mind over here is I want everyone watching the show to pay attention to the choices we're making. So the reason why I used a graphic over here, the hand graphics, because we know from neuroscience that our brains are wired to seek out images of any kind, right? So this will increase the probability of someone noticing it versus just having a link. So the why I framed it as a question is because, again, we know that that's how people are drawn to content. But the third thing that I've done, which is important, worth noting, is that the location of this, I'm showing it once you are kind of in this general area, because my thinking is that there is no way that someone can select a flavor without having gone through the question of like, have I ever tasted Olipop? Now, the question is, what do I want to show to them when I click on it? So we'll show a modal, and there are three things that I want to focus on. The first one is I want to talk about our core philosophy and how it's different from other brands. Remember, when you are trying to convert someone who's a first-time buyer, you are essentially competing against all the other options they have out there. Now, you may not want to explicitly say we're better than brand A, better than brand B, brand C, but you want the reader to walk away with the fact that, hey, these guys are different. And I have not written copy for this. This is something they'll have to write. But if they can construct copy that kind of communicates the fact that they are different from other alternatives, because I'm sure they're different, then then they've done their job. The other thing I would talk about is, again, goes back to my same trick of dramatization of effort. I want to talk about how hard it is and how hard we work to get the flavors right. Because ultimately, even though this beverage has lots of health benefits like low sugar and low calories, the reason why people buy root beer versus grape versus strawberry, whatever the flavors are, is because of the flavor. The flavor is still a primary driving factor. And so I don't know what strawberry vanilla is. I've never tasted strawberry vanilla, but if you can describe to me how difficult it was to get the proportions right, then I feel like, okay, these guys probably have a flavor that's worth trying. Final thing is this idea that we're basically going to end our sales pitch by saying, look, we can say all we want to say about strawberry vanilla. The reality is that you just have to test. You have to test it. I mean, it is indescribable. You have to test it. And so that gives the buyer the final push to like say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to try it. So those are the three things that I would essentially communicate for people that have never taste tested the Olipop. And then again, at the bottom of that, I would actually have a feedback button that simply is a thumbs up and a thumbs down. And now I'm collecting qualitative data. Not only am I collecting conversion data about people, what was the conversion rate of people that saw that sales pitch? I'm also collecting qualitative data in terms of, and quantitative data, but in terms of like, did they actually resonate with what we were saying? And if, let's say, for example, 50% of people said yes and 50% said no, that means I failed. So I have to like rewrite that sales pitch. So that is, that's my first concept.
So I gotta say two things. I don't know if you've ever seen sometimes on like Instagram or on Twitter, very, very famous entrepreneurs posting photos of how they look like, 20 years ago when they first came up with like the concept of the business that they started.
Oh, I love that.
Right? And to me, the way I think about that is almost like they are collecting a bunch of photos that showcase their path from rags to riches, right? And what I'm thinking about, in relation to your second bullet point is, I wonder if the founder of Olipop did something similar to basically like they took photos or concept or designs about their version number 150 of the product, and if so, right, they could definitely incorporate those images in that bullet point.
And and this is a really good point. And there are a couple of things that I want to mention with my first idea. This is a great idea, Lorenzo. Another thing is that ideas are like a structure to a building that you are constructing, right? So you can actually take this 20 levels deeper. I mean, if I was a CEO of this company, I would take this to, first of all, here's what you're doing. You actually want to test the poor man's version of the concept. Because what happens if we might discover that only 1% of people are clicking this button? First of all, that would be wrong, because I would actually look at actual sales data and I would say, what percentage of our buyers are first-time triers? And if that number is like 68%, then dude, the fact that 1% of people are clicking your call to action means your call to action is not positioned in the right location. Yeah. There is no way that you can triangulate to say that, people don't care about this question, because the question is nothing about, it's a question like, have you tasted Olipop? It's a trick question I placed here, because I'm trying to segment for people that have never tasted the product. But the thing is that you want to not go crazy. And I think this is what I want to end with. You don't want to go crazy with this idea. I want to keep it super, super simple, something that you can finish up in an afternoon's time in terms of writing copy, because you are still validating the concept. Then you will fine tune the concept to make sure that the concept is discovered. And there are a bunch of things you're doing. But once you find that this is the money train, then you can take this to the whole new level, like Lorenzo talked about. I would go even further. In one of the variations, I would actually have a video of someone taste testing for the very first time the strawberry vanilla flavor and describing their experience. Almost like, I would set up a booth, like an infomercial, set up a booth in New York. And when people are walking by, I'll be like, have you ever tasted strawberry vanilla? They're like, what the hell is that? Try it. And then they try it and I record their reaction and they describe the notes. I think that would just make it so much more effective.
Imagine if it was like a YouTube real-time video of and it's like on somebody like in Fifth Avenue, New York, doing that.
Exactly right. So you can take the same basic structure and take it 10 degrees further. So don't look at ideas that we're presenting in literal terms like, oh, we only need to cover these 3 points. No, obviously not. I'm just saying that, like I'm giving you a structure so you're not starting from zero and you're able to actually, make progress yourself.
Something that I want to point out for those people that are not watching the show for the first time, we're at episode, I think it's like either 15 or 16. I kind of lost count.
I think 16. Yeah.
Yeah, 16. But I have a feeling, like a strong feeling, that by episode 20, probably, Rishi has turned from copywriting focused CRO expert to research focused expert, because Rishi's collecting qualitative data now.
This is true. And and it's such a simple little hack, because the investment, it's different from a survey question where you're reaching out to customers saying, can we ask you 10 questions? The consumer is literally clicking one button here. And the great thing about it is that this design language is very easy, is very well understood by consumers. They know what this means. And so now you're just quickly collecting data, and it's also an ultimate cheat hack because now you know if your sales pitch is working or not. I mean, can you think about the magic of knowing what's working and what's not working? My second idea is, and this is something that I discovered at the end of my analysis, Lorenzo. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I thought this was quite surprising. You know, I saw that they had 856 reviews, and I thought, oh, that's okay. I mean, most of these brands have tons of reviews. And as I was going through the page, I realized that, like, for example, old school classics, these 100 reviews are just for the old school classics. Now that is like way more powerful than just generic reviews. And because I missed this, I thought, wait a minute, there might be some data to support that people that read reviews, because these reviews are very personalized. There's a big difference between reviews for Olipop as a brand versus reviews of the vintage cola flavor. And I thought to myself that, first of all, do most people even realize, because I didn't realize that these were personalized reviews. But the other point is that if they have data that says that people that read reviews have a much higher conversion rate, then I would actually want to do an extra special treatment to get more people to see the reviews. And so the idea that I came up with is, to the left of the Olipop, I put a note that says a quick note about strawberry vanilla reviews. I'm putting a square bracket because it's a variable. So if you are in the multi-pack, it'll say the multi-pack reviews. But what's really interesting from a copywriting perspective is that it's a very vague statement. It doesn't mean anything, except for the fact that we know this is about reviews. And it's just a quick note. It's almost like a quick warning about reviews. And I wanted to intentionally do it that way. I also wanted to design it in a way where it kind of stands out a little bit. And what happens is that when you click on it, we show a modal. And in the modal, or we show a message, it says we've organized reviews differently. Instead of just showing 5,600 reviews, which is the total number of reviews that we have for all of our flavors, you'll see reviews per flavor. So the 856 reviews for strawberry vanilla are just for strawberry vanilla. And then over here, I've said our team hated this project because it was a giant pain. So please make their day by reading at least 5 reviews. And that's my second idea. So I'm going to stop talking now and maybe hand it over to Lorenzo for his concepts.
Yes, stay there, because I want to point out how a huge genius you are, Rishi. I freaking love this idea, but what I love the most about this idea is exactly the last sentence, because I know what you're doing there. I love that sentence. Just brought the entire idea to a new level.
I think
you want to explain to people what you're doing there.
I mean, I can't sometimes even explain it because it's so kind of built into my way of kind of thinking. But I mean, I would say that I love the idea of showing vulnerability to the readers to kind of make them feel like, you know, like something was different. I don't know how to even explain it, but I mean, the principal idea is, I know that people who read 5 reviews are going to have a much higher conversion rate than people that just check out 1 or 2 reviews. And so, yeah, that's my reasoning, but maybe you have a different.
Yeah. So the way I think about it is actually different. So what you're doing with that sentence, in my eyes, is that you're making me say, oh my God, yeah, just because of the effort that they've put into doing this, I must read it.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
It's almost like an exchange.
Yeah.
You have done something crazy for me, right? Of spending hours putting this together. I just need to read 5 reviews. Nothing crazy, right?
That's right. No, that's true. Yeah, that is true. And I think what it goes to show, this is a really important point I want to make, is that this is just one sentence, and you can see how that one sentence can make a difference. And so when people think about copywriting, they need to think about the power of words and ideas, not just words, but ideas. And this concept would have been very different without the sentence, and it's very different with the sentence. And so again, it just draws our attention to this idea of paying attention to the words that we're using. But Lorenzo, I'm not going to, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Yeah, so before I start sharing my screen, I want to say two things. The first one, I want to point out again, for those people that missed it, that Rishi and I have not shared our ideas before starting the show. And obviously, we always work independently on our ideas. So we never share anything today until we hit the share screen button. The second thing is more like a rant, Rishi, because lately I've been seeing a lot of, well, not lately, but in general, throughout my career as a CRO person, I've seen a lot of, forget me the French term, but a lot of bullshit around, button color testing that increase conversion rate by crazy percentages. And that unfortunately has messed up the industry big time, because now everybody thinks that by just changing the color of a call to action, you're going to become a millionaire. So for that reason, the two ideas, and I've done this on purpose, the two ideas I'm about to present are completely the opposite of button color testing. And what I mean by that is that they're very complicated ideas and bold ideas that would require days to develop. And I've done this on purpose, even though, it's not going to help people so much in terms of like, okay, I'm just going to head and replicate the same thing tomorrow because it's going to be easy for me. But it's almost like if I were on a strike against, in a protest against those people that do bottom color testing. So having said that, all right, so let's talk about opportunity one, which I called sell the taste. Now, let's look at my reviews mining document here. In the benefits section, here I put all the different benefits and the motivation, the advantages that customers who left a review have mentioned about the product. And as you can see, a lot of the kind of like the main ones are around the way the product tastes, which totally makes sense, right? It's a beverage, so it has a great flavor, it's refreshing, doesn't contain a lot of sugar, it's not too sweet. Again, a lot of product attributes around the taste. Now, having said that, could we come up with an hypothesis that flavor does matter in the eyes of the user? Sure. There's a problem though. On this product page, there's a lack of section that demonstrate how tasty the product is, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is the user is telling you with the data that they care about flavor, but there's no explanation, no selling point around the flavor on this product page. So here's what I'm suggesting. And I was smiling when you first presented your idea around the call out next to the anchors, next to the selectors. So what I'm suggesting is to introduce a how does it taste call out, which could be either an anchor link that when people click on it, get scroll down in a lower section of the website, or it could be a modal, a pop-up that opens up. And I would place that next to the flavor selectors, which is exactly where Rishi pointed out for his idea. And what we're gonna do in that modal is actually display at the taste level a different YouTube video. It's actually going to be a clip from an influencer that I found on YouTube that basically is a sort of like, I'm gonna open it. I'm not gonna play it, but it's basically like an influencer. I'm not gonna play it, but it's basically an influencer that tastes all the different flavors that the product that the Olipop sells, and basically like sells well each of this flavor, right?
That's amazing. Yeah, it's so much more powerful because it's coming from an independent third party person.
Yeah, and if you want to kind of like bring this even like a little higher level, you can have different clips from different YouTube influencers, right? Now let's talk about a more kind of like complicated, I would say, iteration of this, which would be I actually discovered through a very expensive tool which is called Google, that there's this concept of soda sommelier. So like there is the wine sommelier, there's also the soda sommelier, and I had no idea, right? So what I thought it could be interesting is, what if we partner up with a soda sommelier, which brings the concept of authority, right? And instead of having the videos of the influencers, the YouTube influencers, which by the way are also authority, like with a celebrity kind of like angle, now we're displaying a bunch of videos of one or multiple, whatever. Obviously, I would first try with one sommelier only, that basically almost like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the video of Gary Vaynerchuk when he first started his social media
Wine
kind of like,
library.
exactly, where he was literally he was tasting wine, right? So I would want to do something similar. Here I also put on purpose, right, to my point at the beginning of my section, that this might take a long time to execute on. I put a couple of days in the case of the YouTube influencers, because you have to like download all the different clips and like put them on the site and so on. And obviously for the sommelier would take much longer than 2 days, because you need to go out and find a sommelier and so on. That's my first idea.
I absolutely love it. And the thing I should just mention here is that they don't have to jump in and do all of this in one shot. So they could probably look at their sales data and say, hey, you know what? Strawberry vanilla is 65% of our sales. We will do this video program for that flavor. And then depending on the success, we will expand it out to all the flavors.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things that you taught me years ago, you probably don't remember this, but one of the things you taught me during a private LinkedIn conversation between you and I was that one of the things that you do when you start working on a project is look at the product analytics report into Google Analytics and look at two different metrics: the add to cart metric at the product level and the add to cart sales metric at the product level. So you could prioritize that YouTube video based on these two metrics.
That's right. I love it. And
Cool.
I think, I think that we can spend 4 years working on this with this brand just around the communication of flavor, because that is the $1 billion opportunity. If I can somehow figure out a way to communicate flavor to someone who's never tasted Olipop while they're shopping online, that's worth $1 billion. And I think there are ways to do it. And I would forget all of my other programs and I would focus in on that.
All right, let's talk about the second one. So the second one is also definitely a bold idea. So let's go back in the benefits section. So we have a few things here. We have people saying, oh, like one of the main kind of like benefits that I got from the product was that it's healthy. The other thing that I thought it was very interesting is I can drink it guilt-free. Because it sounds like if you're drinking the normal soda like Coke or Sprite, whatever, you're now feeling guilty, right? While with this one, which by the way, people are switching. I haven't shown it in the reviews mining, but people are switching from soda to this product, which makes sense, right? And the next one is it doesn't contain a lot of sugar, which is a selling point that they're bringing with this product. This is why they created the product, Rishi, right? And then it has low calories, right? Now, having said that, what I realized is that two important things on the product page, which is the nutrition facts and the 3 grams of sugar. Let me show you what I mean by that. So the nutrition facts are here and the 3-gram sugar is down here. So what I'm trying to say here is that these two sections, which talk about the whole concept of low sugar, which is the reason why this product was created. They're quite down the page. And we all know that people don't scroll. You can set up heat maps to verify it, blah, blah. What I realize is that by showcasing that it's 3 grams of sugar, I wonder if people are asking themselves, well, I wonder how many grams of sugars the other soda that I'm switching from are, right?
Love it.
So here's my solution. What I would do is I would make more prominent 2 things. The first one, I would add a call out that says, see how low on sugar it is. And then it would be exactly like next to the selector, like here, right? And then also where it says here, down here, I would use maybe like an arrow with a link that says, see how low on sugar it is. And then when clicking on it, I'm going to basically, and this is something I found on online using, just on Google. If you go on Google and put Coca-Cola experiment, there's a bunch of videos that basically show the normal Coke. So for example, here, this is like the Diet Coke. No, sorry, the Coke Zero. And this is the Coke. And what they're doing in this YouTube video is they're boiling Coke Zero and Coke next to it. And this is the results of what it happens when what the Coke looks like when it's all like evaporated, right? The one on the left, there's like no sugar whatsoever. And one on the right, look at how much sugar there is, right? So I would do something similar with the sodas that people are replacing Olipop with. And now we have whatever soda, people are switching from and Olipop. So now you're contrasting a crazy amount of sugar and you show it because you're just boiling the Coke next to boiling Olipop that doesn't have sugar whatsoever. Well, it has very low amount of sugar.
You can also help one of the other powerful persuaders for the buyer could be you can ask them how often they have soda, one example, and then basically say, if you had Olipop for a year, this is how much less sugar you would have in the future. So you're showing them a future state, which they desire. But anyway, yes, brilliant idea.
If we go ahead and do it in private, the contrast between soda and Olipop is not that big, which I don't expect to, right? I'm just like saying, right? So if it's not doable, here's another solution I got. Next to the 3 gram here, add a call out that says, that's 10x less than a normal soda. See yourself. And when people click on it, now what happens is there's a modal that opens up with a bunch of screenshots gallery of the label of all the competitors that they're switching from that showcase how, and by the way, that 10x less, I just made it up. And so in this gallery, basically you're showing the nutritional facts of all the competitors that people are switching from. And now the user is able to compare with proof, because it's a screenshot of the label, that Olipop has 10x less sugar than the competitors. To kind of like come up with an iteration of this, you can actually develop a functionality like this. And I found this again through Google, where you upload the database of all the soda in the market, and you type in, let's say, Sprite. And now I'm seeing you can look up the amount of sugar that any single soda you can think of, and how Olipop has low sugar.
I love it. And it's, it's great. It's awesome. It's great ideas. And again, I don't know why you thought that these might be complicated to do. I don't think that they're complicated to do. I think they're really, really good ideas. And you can come up with a MVP version of each of them and test them out.
That's all I got.
All right.
I mean, honestly, I would have come up with a document with probably like 30 ideas, but we don't want to do that.
Yeah, not for this episode, but yes, this is, I really liked it. I think these are really original ideas, really good concepts. And again, I think people, when we make the assumption that, oh, they might even have this kind of content, and they might be under the impression that, well, we already have created this kind of content. Well, the people that are coming to your product page, even if they may have seen it, they've actually forgotten it. So you have to remind them about it again. So that's the reason why you need to mention it again, even though you may have created this campaign 2 years ago. This is a great episode, and we look forward to making another episode with you guys next week. But we hope you enjoyed it. Please write us a comment with your questions. We depend on your comments. See you
Actually,
again soon.
let's do this, Rishi. Please, I would love for people that watch this episode to vote which idea they like the most. Honestly, I don't care if you like some Rishi's ideas more than mine. I don't get offended. I think Rishi won't get offended either. So feel free to do that.
Awesome. See you guys next week. Ciao.
Ciao.